The same sort of thing happens if my arm is too far forward during rest position. This time, to actually hit the ball, I would have to drop my elbow. As you can see, the cue comes off the bridge. A good idea is to think of the cue as a piston and the arm below the elbow as a piston rod. What you're trying to do is to move the cue backwards and forwards along exactly the same line every time. If we look at the action again, you can see another point that's really worth noting. You'll see that my head remains absolutely steady throughout the shot. This is so crucial because any movement of the head makes the arm move as well. When I was first learning the game, my father used to stand over me with the cue held a fraction of an inch above my head. If I touched the cue, I failed the test. I think it was one of the most important lessons I ever learned. Try to get into the habit of keeping your head down until the ball's gone in the pocket. Exaggerate this until it becomes second nature. It's definitely worth it. Now let's look at how to aim and make the stroke itself. Step one is to stand in line with the shot and make up your mind exactly what you're going to do. The time to think about angles is before you get down. This also makes sure you're not going to slide into the shot from around your last position. Step two is to settle into a comfortable position with a firm bridge. By now the only things you should be concentrating on are the cue ball and the object ball. Joe Davis used to say that cueing is like aiming a rifle, and it's a good model to follow. Think of the V of your bridge as the sight and the cue as the barrel of a rifle. Just as you would with a rifle, keep your eyes as close to the line of the cue as possible. For a normal shot, the cue should be as near horizontal as you can get. The cue should be just brushing your chin. I've even got a scar on mine to prove it. If your eyesight's perfect, then your head should be positioned centrally over the cue. If it's not, then you'll naturally sight up with your strongest eye. When you feel you're in the right position, start to move the cue backwards and forwards. What you're aiming for is a smooth, rhythmic movement. This warm-up routine is an important part of the action, as you're actually practicing for the final shot. At this stage, you should look at the white ball to make sure that the tip of your cue is going to strike the ball where you want it to. For a shot without spin, that's dead centre. Now look along the line of the cue from behind the bridge, past the tip, through the white ball and onto the part of the object ball you want to hit. Try and visualise the white ball actually hitting the object ball exactly where you want it to. Flick your eyes backwards and forwards to double check where you'll be hitting both balls. There's no need now to look at the pocket, it's too late for that. Keep your eyes on one line. When you're ready to strike the ball, begin your final backswing. As you start, you should be looking at the white ball, but starting to shift your attention to the object ball. At the end of the backswing, consciously pause for a split second and make sure that your eyes are now fixed firmly on the object ball. As you thrust the cue forwards, you should be concentrating on the part of the object ball you're aiming to hit. That way you'll automatically send the cue in the right direction. Don't be caught looking halfway between the two balls as you make contact. And remember to keep your eyes fixed on the object ball, or the spot where it was, even after it's moved off. Also keep your cue at its finishing point, because that will make sure that you follow through properly. Don't try and guide the ball through with your cue. Mastering this sequence is a very, very important part of the game, making sure you're on the right ball at the right time. It might take you a long time to get into the habit, but I believe it's worthwhile, and it's also the whole secret of timing the ball. In a normal ball game, you look at the ball you're hitting or kicking, but with snooker it's completely different. At the time you make your shot, you must be looking at the object ball. It's exactly like darts. You wouldn't be looking at your dart where you were going for a treble 20. The striking action itself should be deliberate and confident. Don't snatch at the shot or exaggerate the backswing. You only need to take the cue back as far as the power of the shot requires. Punch the ball and follow through naturally. Don't be timid. Strike the ball as confidently as if all you were going to do was to hit it straight into a pocket. Above all, remember on your final backswing, pause, concentrate on the object ball, strike confidently and keep your head down. If you can get this sequence right, you're well on the road to becoming a successful snooker player. At this stage, you should go back to your original practice exercise of hitting the white ball up and down the spot, just to see how much you've improved. Remember to keep your eyes fixed on the blue spot as you pause before striking. If the ball isn't coming back over the spots, find out why. Check that you're cueing straight by using the mirror. Make sure you're also striking the ball in the middle. Try varying the power you put into the shot and see how this affects your accuracy. You'll soon find out the less accurate you're likely to be with the more power you use. Now put a ball on the blue spot and line up the white for a full ball pot into one of the top corner pockets. The line of the shot is the diagonal from the opposite corner. When you can pot this shot 10 times out of 10, you're a better player than I am. If the white ball goes in as well, that's absolute proof that you're hitting the ball dead centre. We've covered all the basic techniques involved in snooker, but even assuming that you put these all into action perfectly, it's highly unlikely you'll actually be able to make a big break. The reason is simple enough. To build up a break, firstly you need to know where the cue ball is going after it's hit the object ball. Once you've learnt this, you can start to master how to control the cue ball. And to do this often means using various types of spin. So that's what we're going to look at next. There are 3 basic types of spin. If you hit the ball below centre, the ball moves forward, but at the same time it rotates backwards. This pull ball shows the effect of backspin very well. Topspin involves striking the ball above the centre. In this case, the ball spins forward faster than it's actually travelling. Side spin is put on by striking the ball to one side of the middle of the ball. As I said, the idea of spin is to give you greater control over the white ball. In the case of backspin, there are 3 effects you have to master: the screw, the stun and the drag. The screw shot is used when you want the white ball to come back after it's hit the object ball. You use the stun shot when you want the white ball to stop dead on contact with the object ball. With the drag shot, the cue ball slows right down before making contact and then afterwards runs on, but much more slowly than with a plain ball shot. As you will see, the difference between the 3 shots is the amount of backspin that is left on the white ball when it comes into contact with the object ball. With the screw shot, there's still plenty of backspin left on the white ball. With a stun shot, there's just enough to kill the forward motion of the white ball. In the case of the drag shot, the backspin has completely worn off and the white ball has started to roll forward again by the time it makes contact with the ball. Let's take a closer look at the techniques involved with the screw shot, one of the most satisfying in the snooker repertoire. First of all, let's look at the bridge. And as you can see, the normal bridge is useless for the screw shot. I have to get the tip as low as possible on the white ball to get any backspin. And as you can see, the cue is well jacked up in the air. This is no good as you want to keep the cue as horizontal as possible to avoid putting any inadvertent side on. So I have to lower my bridge. I can either do this by flattening the fingers, making sure I've got a still very, very firm grip on the cloth, or actually twisting the bridge over and actually lowering the thumb. Both ways mean you can keep the cue as horizontal as possible. There are 2 common faults that inexperienced players make when they're playing the screw shot. The first one is to be worried about the cue ball coming back and touching the tip. So what they tend to do is to snap the cue back and try and get more backspin on that way. I'll show you how that happens. Of course, what actually happens there is you're not getting enough follow through with the cue, and so no backspin is applied. The second one is that players tend to lift their head up because they're worried about the shot. And as you can see, if you do this, the cue is also liable to come up, and of course you're not even hitting the ball on the bottom. Let me show you a good routine for practicing your screw shot. Just put the white ball foot and a half behind the red, just try and bring it back a little bit. When you've done that, put another red on the spot. Try now, just to repeat that. When you think you've got control of the ball, then start to try and bring the white ball back a little bit further every time, making sure to keep your head down and cue nice and smooth. Remember to choke your cue before every shot. And as you can see, leave the cue there after you've played the shot. In Inexperienced players are often nervous about playing a screw shot because there's no need to be really. It's harder to play than a flammable shot, of course, because you're only using the edge of the tip to hit the ball. That's why the tip needs to be dome-shaped so it fits the ball. But if your cue action is sound, then you shouldn't have any problems with that practice can't conquer. When you've got fed up with just bringing the ball back far enough,